Women in Print Alliance is dedicated to connecting, empowering, and advancing women in the printing industry. As part of Printing United Alliance, we're fostering a more inclusive future through advocacy, education, and networking opportunities that connect women across the entire industry. Join us as an individual to grow your career, expand your network, and access exclusive resources, or enroll your entire organization to show your commitment to supporting women in print. Become a member today at womeninprintalliance.org and help us shape the future of print.
Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today I have with me Mary Dolan. She's CEO for Pro-Am Team Sports. So Mary, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you with me today. So to get us started, could you tell me a little bit about Pro-Am Team Sports?
Pro-Am Team Sports is in the branded apparel industry. We are located in Cherryville, Indiana, and we primarily serve teams, their uniforms and spirit wear. We serve corporations and nonprofits doing their staff apparel and promotional apparel. And we have a retail space as well. And we do a lot of Letterman jackets in that space.
Very cool. So I have to ask, how did you get started in this crazy industry?
Yeah, I'm a completely accidental participant in the industry. That my background is legal. I practiced law for many years. I had 5 kids, and with the 5th child, I left work. And my older boys, 4 boys and 1 girl, were playing sports. And in that process, my husband and I got to know one of the salespeople, and he was interested in going out on his own. He had in the past. And I thought this would be great for me to learn about the business, but from the back end, he would take the lead. I come from a very entrepreneurial family, so that concept wasn't so strange. So that's what I did. I left, and it was really wonderful. And Dave was a great mentor. Unfortunately, and so unexpectedly, he got cancer, and he was gone in about 4 months.
Oh, wow.
So the idea of being back of the house and not leading it was suddenly I was faced with, do I want to do this? And I decided to jump in. And it was a little scary because I didn't come from the industry. I cannot go back and screen print with the best of them. But running a business, and this particular business, I found that, I think Carly mentioned it, I mean, it's all about joy. And folks that are young kids or adults, they're still playing sports, or people are excited to promote their company with some t-shirts. So it's really about that kind of fun and joy. The idea of running a business and all the thoughts, it doesn't really matter what the business is. That part really always excited me. So it was more than I thought, for sure. So, but I'm proud to be standing here, 12 years later.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
So you started as a lawyer.
Yes.
Of course, I'm going all the way back there. So
Yeah.
started as a lawyer. What was it that interested you in being in the field of law?
I also come from a family of lawyers.
Aha.
That seemed fairly normal. I mean, I have a personality that there are 2 sides to the folks, that sort of cerebral piece. And I've worked in the nonprofit area as well. I really liked being able to use legal tools to make a difference in people's lives.
That's cool, though. And honestly, now you're using your business to make a difference in people's lives in a very different way.
I really hope so. And some of the things, I did some employment law, and some of those things make me very comfortable on some of the issues that do come up. Don't freak me out.
Which is good, because in some cases, it could freak somebody out,
Yes,
especially if
but
they're a new
awesome.
business owner.
Right.
There's lots of
And
things.
you're working with people and stuff comes up.
Oh, yes, it certainly does. So you had kids, came back into the market because you saw a need, obviously, and you saw something that
Yeah.
you could really react to, especially because I'm sure your kids have gone through so many sports jerseys and
Indeed.
things.
Indeed. That's true.
What was it that, besides the point that there was an opportunity, why was it interesting to you to even think about going into print versus going back into law, which is something you were obviously very comfortable with?
I absolutely love the concept that no day is the same, that you're exposed to a lot of different areas, everything from accounting to marketing to sales to operations. I absolutely loved the variety and the opportunity to learn and grow in all those areas. The people part of it, between both the people that you have to work with to make it come things work out, and also working with your customers in a very much different way than a legal client.
Very much. So what is it about print now that really excites you?
I think it's the recognition that how you have to work effectively as a team to be successful. And that, again, it goes back to the variety. We can print with plastisol. Then we are like, we can do this better and we can print with water-based inks or so there's no settling. You just are as you continue to learn and do things better, there's this other opportunities, one for us to learn and two to provide a better product to our customer. It's exciting. It's fun.
It's always changing, like you said,
It
no day is the
is.
same.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm sure there's a certain kind of pride and excitement that comes when those orders are delivered, especially if it's for kids. To
Yep.
see their names on a jersey, to see their
Yep.
names, that's something that I don't think ever would get old.
It doesn't get old. In fact, we just delivered to a big league this week, and I thought, oh, I'd love to have a marketer person take pictures of every different kid putting on their uniforms. It's small and it's intangible. If you do your job right, they never think about your uniform again, right?
Mhm.
It's not the most important thing for these kids, but it's that fun little moment,
Yeah, it definitely is. Now for you, coming into print and especially apparel printing, it's something that it was not your world.
right?
What did you think about the industry before you really stepped into it? Did you have any particular notions about it, about what happened there?
No, the only thing I could say, and it's not flattering, is that so many of those spaces you would go in were physically crowded. It wasn't an industry where, despite the visuals, people cared about what the experience as a customer is in many experiences that I had.
Yeah.
That's about it. I know I didn't understand what a big business it was. And that, as my partner used to say, the pie is really big. You just need a little slice. And that remains true.
So knowing that, what would you tell people about what you do or about the industry? How do you try to get that word out to stop
Yeah.
those weird misconceptions that people have about what this industry really is?
That's a really good question because I do find it difficult to talk to people about what I do. I think there's just so many different entry points. And if you have an element of competition to you, if you like, it's not just sports. I think it's even more of a creativity mindset. I think it's just one of those areas that you might not know anything about, but you could find a place for yourself. Again, there's so many spots, whether you want to be a screen operator or you really want to do customer service and have a potential route to sales from there. It's not as monolithic as you think it is.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of opportunities for people with different skill sets to do really well.
Yeah, and I remember one woman that I spoke with, she mentioned that nobody really steps in that front door to see what's behind your door, like to see
Oh,
what those opportunities are.
right.
I always say that print is like that secret industry. It's always there, it surrounds us, but nobody actually understands how that product comes to be. All the different people and the teams and the skill sets across the board that is all behind a logo on a shirt. Nobody really thinks beyond that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And when we do bring people in and we show them our back end, they're always stunned because it's bigger and there's more going on. It's exactly a really good description.
Yeah, they just don't realize. I know I had one woman, she's a couple years not that long ago, we had a robotics club come through our shop, and she goes, because we have robotics arms, they do some wide format printing. So she was like, 5, 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing. But she
Right.
goes, it's exciting to see like how the industry has changed with automation, with the technology, with all the things that we can do now for everything.
And it's continuing to move. I don't see that ending anytime soon, which is great.
Now for you, you had a lot of hands-on, on-the-job training because
Yes.
it was all new to you. So what was it? You said you had a really good mentor, of course,
Yes.
but what was it that really got you up to speed, that really helped immerse you in the industry?
I think it wasn't necessarily in the I guess there's 2. If you're asking about the industry, a lot of that is some of the people that I've met
Mhm.
through particularly either our buying program and the opportunity twice a year to get to know people and just start asking them the questions that I have. But I think what was really transformational for me is someone introduced me to the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program,
Okay.
which is a free program. And in that program, they pretty much take you through soup to nuts what it takes to run a business. And I think I maybe was like about 5 years in at that point, and it was really for me to see, "Oh, okay, you're doing okay there. Your instincts were correct, and you need to spend some time here." And I think that was the point where it felt like instead of me just figuring it out as I go along, I realized there's tools and resources and ways to get this to make more progress faster. And that was huge, and then that allowed me then to ask better questions of my peers. So how are you doing this? And continues to this day.
So it's interesting with that kind of training, how essential it was for you, even just to get your head around running a small business. But then layered on top of that, you also have the industry stuff. Like you said, you couldn't pull a screen if you wanted to, but you still need to know how it works, why it works to a certain degree.
Yes. And the folks that I've hired, of course, I can't make it up that I don't know it. And you can almost see through the different production managers and ops managers I've had, they've helped me learn. And then I've learned, oh, I need X now. Different people that I've hired have been really helpful and also helping me grow.
Because they're in the trenches. They know, hey, I read about this, that, or I've seen this. What do we think about getting this kind of equipment or getting this something else?
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm really dependent on valuing that person's advice. And I think that's where maybe some of the legal background in the sense of, okay, I've got some questions. For me, looking at both sides, it's just natural. Tell me why this will work. Tell me why we're not doing this. Tell me why we can't. And I think when people get me, then they realize those aren't offensive questions or they're just like, just trying to understand.
Yeah. Just
So,
wanna know why it works the
yeah.
way it works.
But we've got a couple autos in back. We've made a lot of changes over time because we have to grow faster than I maybe would understand the process.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you get that support network for yourself to help build your professional relationships? It helps with your networking, obviously, it helps with the growth of the business. Where do you find those folks to add to your network and your support system?
I'm not as good at this as I should be, but there is NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. I've recently joined Women in Manufacturing, realizing so many of the issues. It doesn't matter that it's not screen printing, it's similar, and I've learned a lot. And the We Bank, which certifies me as a women owned business, you just go and you stand with folks, whether or not they're in my industry, but as long as they're trying to run a business and a similar business, they can provide you with directions and solutions. But it's also that sense of, okay, I'm not alone. And when you are the CEO, sometimes you can just feel like, okay, I need someone to talk to about something where it might not be appropriate, even to talk to my leadership team about. It's been really helpful.
And they probably provide you insight that's not personal in a way. It gives you that step back, that once removed, so they're not you're on top of the problem, whatever
Right.
that issue is.
Correct, and they're not thinking about it in terms of the people that I might be thinking about it, and therefore
Yeah.
I can see, okay, either you've been afraid to make this move or, "Oh, that's a really great idea, never thought about that." There's like I said, I should do more of it, but there are definitely opportunities, and through our buying group, they have really been, in the last couple years, conscious about trying to get the women in the room together so that we can ask those questions. Some of us have been doing it for years to
Mhm.
find folks, but now to have it in a more organized fashion is allows for those relationships to develop and seeing people on a regular basis, which is really important.
Yeah, and honestly, those women groups give you a really good place because you all have similar challenges as women in a manufacturing role, as a small business owner. So you women face different things than men do.
Yep.
even though it technically is the same skill set, the same requirements, but there's still a level of differentiation between men and women when you are in those roles.
And I think, I mean, there has been a lot of growth, but it is still, when you walk into a lot of rooms, it's still largely male. Many of those men will answer my questions the same, but many of them have come up together. They have similar backgrounds. And so there is something to finding some folks, and many of them are women that just understand what it's like to be maybe the minority in the room in terms of
Mhm.
numbers. I can remember listening to a vendor make a presentation, and they were talking about the women's wear as the girls. This is what the girls wear.
Mhm.
And you're like, wait, I'm looking around. Is anyone else? These are grown women. They're athletes that are, their names.
Yeah.
And they were talking about them as girls. And so we've come a long way from them. But the fact that you can be in a room where that doesn't bother most of the people,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
It's most likely is unintentional, but that's how
100%.
but yeah,
You
had
did
she
go and just make that point. Things change. Obviously, not just because what I said, but it must
Mhm.
have other people. But it wasn't like that. I was rebuked for making my observation and leaving it.
Yeah. Yeah, you think of girl, I think of someone under the age of 12,
Right.
generally,
Right.
but when you're talking
And the
about
people buying this are not girls.
generally not.
Yeah.
Your daughter might say, "Ooh, I like that kind of a top," but that's
Right.
especially if they're an athlete, even Olympian or somebody that's really forward in their
Yeah.
sport, they are not girls.
And I think we've talked about some of the big changes. I think the changes in women's sports, even though it's not directly related to what we do, it's helping changing the
Mhm.
mentality of who can be in any aspect of sports.
Yeah.
And that's really great. And it's changing the consumer. It's more girls play sports in elementary school and middle school and high school.
Mhm.
It doesn't change exactly how we sell, but it is change some of the designs. It changes some of the colors.
Yep.
That's really fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. Giving space for everyone to
Right.
be able to participate.
Right.
What was it like for you when you first realized that this industry was mostly male and you stepped into that room and realized that I am the minority?
Think I was prepared for it in the sense that I was part of some of the early classes at Notre Dame where I went to college, where at that point it was still majority men. In fact, I can remember being in a classroom where when I spoke up, almost everyone turned around to see. The legal profession has changed, but and it's still a very male dominated or was male dominated. So I think that dynamic isn't entirely uncomfortable for me, for better or for worse.
You're used to it in a way.
Used to it. Yeah.
So how do you make yourself, besides the point that you are a woman in a boardroom or
Yeah.
a room with a bunch of men, how do you stand out and make sure that your voice is heard?
I think the key is moving from that imposter syndrome feeling to realizing I have an experience that's different that many in this men have from their own individuality, regardless of men, that can make a difference and that's valuable. So I have something to say based on my experience. Might not be the best comment, might be where we're not going, but actually it might be something that you hadn't thought about before and can help solve this problem. So it's easier said than done, but I think sometimes it's just, you've got something to say. So say it.
Yeah, sometimes in the moment, it's getting over yourself in some ways
Yep.
too.
Yep. Yep. And because everyone isn't necessarily just looking at you as what is that woman having to say, but they're maybe half paying attention. What is she saying?
Yeah,
Uh, That's not a bad thing she's saying. Okay.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Now, earlier on, you mentioned that you have 5 kids.
I do.
So, what is it like when it comes to work-life balance? Is there really anything called balance? Is it more like a chemistry? How does that actually work? Because you are very much involved in the running of a business.
Yeah. I think in the beginning I had really young kids. And I think that's what partly appealed to me to make me do it is to have that flexibility. What it meant is, yes, I could leave work so that I could go pick up my kids right after school and take them to whatever they needed. But then it meant that when they went to bed, you're going back and doing what you need to do. Great. That's an easy trade-off in my mind. I think the notion of balance it just doesn't exist. There's just times when you're in a busy season and that's just the way it is. And I think ultimately you just have to decide what's too much one way or another. And largely, I think it's worked out. It's worked out. Now the youngest is in college. I don't have that same need to be home to provide dinner. That's what I wanted to do. The different people can make decisions about what's important to them.
Yeah, true. But again, for you when you were starting, 12 years ago, that was a whole different story, like you said.
Right. And weekends, you use your weekends differently. And we put in some tools that have actually made it easier to work from home. So hopefully that has benefited. I do think about that for the women that are working for us. And I think that some of them have also benefited from my experience. Yep, I get it. You got to go early today to pick up, go do it. I know that they're going to get their work done later and they have a system where they can work from home. So I think that's been beneficial
It certainly
for my
is.
staff.
But obviously, there's some positions probably in your staff that can't have that flexibility. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not like they can just load the press up on the back of their car and take it home with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you got deadlines are deadlines. So
Yeah.
you have to, there are some areas that are less flexible. That's for sure.
So how does it work for those folks then in terms of work-life balance or even maybe not even within your company, but industry-wide, even looking at because your situation with your employees is not dissimilar to what competitors have or other companies have.
To the extent that you can keep your work to 9 to 5, because we're also providing a great benefit and paying people for the time that they want. I hope that we're creating an environment so that when they are at work, it's a place that they're happy to be. Sometimes we've provided some part-time options that sort of can work for the employee and also can work for us when we're growing, but not enough yet to
Mhm.
have that full-time position. But I do think a full-time screen operator position requires that it doesn't provide for some of the flexibility that I've enjoyed and that some other people have enjoyed in their positions just because this is how much we need done today.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
It is. Yeah,
But then I'm sure during slow times, then there's a different conversation.
correct. Correct. And again, trying to balancing that people are earning a living. So you want to make sure I feel really that for us, it's January and July, and what can we do to keep things operating? Thank God for PE orders and stuff like that. But on the other hand, we're upfront in the beginning, and that allows us a great time to take a vacation. It's a great time if you want to take Fridays off in the summer, we can probably make that work.
Yeah, and that provides a flexibility that a lot of people probably appreciate.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Or even working 410s in some cases or other things,
Right.
depending.
And we have done that as well. Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, so all of the history that you have, even going back to when you were a lawyer, if you were just starting and deciding, I'm going to open up a print shop today, and you were just figuring it out,
Yeah.
what advice would you give yourself?
One piece of advice might be just to not sweat every error in the beginning. Perfection is just not an expected outcome. What we've learned in the meantime is okay, get things done a little bit earlier so that if you make an error, you can replace it. I think had a really unrealistic expectation of that there will be errors. And I think the other thing is just that it's bring yourself, whether you're in this industry or not, bring it. What are the things that you really care about? And bring that. The company's going to take on a little bit of your personality. So just if there's a reason you're doing this, bring that joy, bring your curiosity. For me, it was like, okay, let's bring this to the 21st century and be confident about that. And there's going to be a ton you don't know. Figure it out.
Seems simple, right?
No, there's been some really stressful times, but there's people I've met, vendors that have been really supportive. There's people that you don't expect will reach out and say, "Hey, I saw your video on the website. I really like it. Can you do XYZ?" And then they end up becoming really good customers. If you just keep doing what you're doing, and you do it well and you do it with good intentions and you really care about what the environment is for our folks, some good things are going to come your way.
So would you do it again?
I would do it earlier. I
Oh,
would do it earlier in my life.
cool.
Yeah, there's a lot about leadership and growing a company and strategy that I would just to know more. I wish I had started thinking about a lot earlier.
Mary, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time with me. I really appreciated getting to know you and chatting a little bit.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about this journey.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.